Hey, you are about to watch one section of our longer Bloomburrow Precon Review Thoughtcast episode. We're so excited to have you. I think you're going to have a great time watching the video. If you want to watch the full thing with all four of our reviews and all of our banter and intros, outros, and everything, all the goodies, you can click the link right over here, and that'll take you to the full episode. But without further ado, let's get into whichever deck you clicked on. So this is the animated army deck, and I'm going to give a couple of spoilers before I go into it. We've got what I would consider my most controversial upgrade guide that I have been so excited and thinking about for the last day, and a really weird deck, which is just so fitting for like this art. For the main commander, which is Bloomburrow Bard of the Brambles. So it's 1 red and a green for a 3/3 legendary creature, Raccoon Bard. And during your turn, each non-equipment artifact and non-aura enchantment you control with mana value 4 or greater is a 4/4 elemental creature in addition to its other types, and has indestructible, haste, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. That's a whole lot of text, but also
pretty wild. That's pretty wild.
I guess dream scenario here is like on turn 3 you play Bloomburrow, and then on turn 4 you play some artifact or an enchantment. Obviously, that's not an aura or an equipment that comes in as a 4/4 with haste and indestructible, and you can swing it at somebody and then hit them, draw a card. So it kind of incentivizes you to play just enchantments and just artifacts. It does also give your like artifact creatures or enchantment creatures the base power and toughness warp and indestructible haste on your turn. It does weird things with your cards. So that's the main commander for the deck. There is an alt commander. That's another new card. It is Wild Seer Scoring Maw. It's 3 red and a green for a legendary elemental wolf. It's a 6/6 with trample and just says enchantment spells that you cast from your hand have cascade. That's the whole line of text on it.
Dude, I'm such a fan of that. That looks so cool.
It's really neat. I am going to go ahead and say don't put this in the command zone out the box. But it's a really cool card to have in the 99. Like when you slam this out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden your enchantments just have cascade, like you're kind of killing it. So I like Wild Seer. I definitely like Bloomburrow better with some direction. We'll talk about a couple of new cards in a second here, but this deck is wonky. Like if you look at like the numbers of stuff, it's just kind of a wonky deck. There's some like landfall things in here. Like there's like a Rampaging Baloths for some reason. Like you tell me what Rampaging Baloths has to do with either of those commanders.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. There's like Rampaging Baloths, Lotus Cobra.
Lotus Cobra at least like is a good green card, but like this isn't a landfall deck. Like what are we doing with some of this stuff in here? There's landfall, there's some expend, there's a tender shoot dryad for some reason. Like it's so strange. This is like a really good pile of reprints that has exactly 0 direction. I think that they like had an idea for the commander and then didn't know how to execute it. They're like gruel stuff, like, and then just threw it together. It literally is just like a dumpster that a raccoon is just digging around in. But that's okay. I'm here to fix that. So real quick, let's talk about some new cards. Some of my favorites in the deck is Alchemist's Talent, which is a class card, which we haven't seen since Commander Legends, Baldur's Gate. So Alchemist's Talent is a 4-mana enchantment that the way that classes work is it comes in with the first ability, and then you can level it up by spending mana to then bring it to the next level. It gains that ability, and then you can level up a third time, and it gains that ability. So you pay the cost, it levels up, gets things. So Alchemist's Talent on its first level is when it enters the battlefield, you just make 2 tapped treasure tokens. So it sort of gives you like a rebate on 2 of its mana. And then you can pay 2 mana to bring it up to level 2, which is treasures you control have sacrifice this artifact, tap, sacrifice this artifact, and add 2 mana of any one color. So it makes your treasures twice as good. It's the Gold Span Dragon ability, which is unbelievable. If you've ever had 2/3 of a Black Lotus sitting on the battlefield as a treasure, it is mind-blowing the things that you can do with it. So recommend not spending your treasure to activate the level ability, because then you immediately get to make 4 mana with the treasure that it makes on level 1. And then up to level 3 is whenever you cast a spell, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, this class deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to each opponent.
Whoa.
This is crazy. Like, it just makes you mana and then makes your mana bigger and then just deals damage off of stuff that you're casting if you use treasure. Crazy. Really big fan of this. I think that this is going to be a sneaky hit. Like, you're just going to play this and all of a sudden your opponents are going to go like, am I dying all of a sudden?
That would be super if you can pair this along with any of the types of cards that can allow your treasures to produce you mana without becoming sacrificed.
Because 100%.
It just says if mana from a treasure, like sources are tracked as mana is produced. So, and there are a variety of cards, especially in these colors, that allow
100%. Yes. Yeah. This is like definitely a new staple if you're playing Gishath. Like anything that, like you said, makes treasure tap for mana without sacrificing. So big fan of that. But even then, like, it just makes your treasures sacrifice to add 2 mana instead, which you can split between 2 spells. So like you can pay that 2 mana and then dedicate one of it to casting a spell and then another of it to another one. And then one of your treasures has now cast 2 spells and domed the table for the total mana value of those 2 spells.
Pretty wacky.
Pretty crazy. So that's Alchemist Talent. Another very cool one, and I think, John, you will understand why I appreciate this card a lot. This is Brightcap Badger. It's 3 and a green for a 3/4 that, and very importantly, has an adventure for 2 and a green, which is an instant that you can cast. You cast the half, it goes on the adventure in exile, and then you can cast it from exile. So the adventure is 3 mana for an instant that makes 2 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens. And then when you cast the Badger itself, which is a Badger Druid, it's a 3/4. It says each fungus and Saproling you control has tapped to add a green. And then at the beginning of your end step, you make a 1/1 green Saproling creature token.
Oh boy.
Hello, Slimefoot and Squee. I'm a huge fan of this. But even outside of a deck that cares about making Saprolings or fungus or anything like that, this is like a weird Thran Dynamo. Like, you play it on 3 and it makes these 2 Saprolings, and then you cast it on 4 and then can immediately tap those 2 Saprolings for 2. So it sort of only costs 2 mana to cast it from exile as an adventure, and then on your end step immediately makes you another Saproling. So by the time that you've played this and it's come back around to you, you now have 3 green mana available from 1 card that's going to keep making you Saprolings. So anything like that just gives you insane amounts of value on 1 card, I'm a huge, huge fan of. Let alone one that is going to continue to make value and make you mana, and it like fits your 3-drop and your 4-drop slot. Like, huge fan of this. I like what they're doing with the Badger here.
And this is also, let's not discount the fact that it provides that to funguses as well. We just have had within this past year, the last Ixalan had some fungus.
Dude.
Had some
Myco
fungus
Tyrant
support.
loves this, which is also in my Slimefoot and Squee deck. So this will be an immediate include for the fungus among us. So that's Brightcap Badger. Fungus? Big Fungus? That's the name of that deck now. It's Big Fungus. Last one to talk about, because there's not a lot of excitement going on in the new cards in this deck, to be honest. This has gotten a lot of stir on our Discord. This is Rolling Hamsphere. So it's a 7 mana artifact vehicle. It's a 4/4 with crew 3. It gets +1/+1 for each hamster you control. And then when Rolling Hamsphere attacks, You make 3 1/1 red hamster creature tokens, and then it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of hamsters you control. This is neat.
Taking literally the nickname Battle Ball.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is sort of a weird Mere Battlesphere. It's like the same cost as Mere Battlesphere. It does a very similar thing, except it's on a vehicle. So what sucks is like you have to crew it. But what's great is our friend Bello animates vehicles. So if you have a vehicle that costs more than 4, he turns it into a 4/4 creature, which is all that vehicles care about to attack. So you just
indestructible and
haste. So you play this, which is why I'm keeping it in the deck. I would keep this around. I think that anything that can animate vehicles and doesn't have to crew it is dope. So Rolling Hamsphere is staying in the deck, and it's just going to make you a board. I love board in a box creatures. I love things like Tendershoot Dryad, which don't make any sense in this deck, but just allows you to play something and then make a bunch of creatures. I guess what play those things have is board in a boxes allow you to play less creatures and give you some defense so that you can play all of these enchantments that do nothing on their own, like Gratuitous Violence that's in the deck, and you don't have any blockers not left up. I still think it's a weird strategy, but it certainly is a strategy.
It's certainly different for Gruul, at least, right? It's not just
very
Gruul.
Weird for Gruul. Yeah.
You're still kind of doing the big go smash thing, but it's coming from different sources than the traditional stuff.
It's a riff on a classic, I would say. So that's Rolling Hamsphere. And that's all the new cards I'm going to talk about, because we have some really cool reprints to get into. I've already talked about Tendershoot Dryad. That is a $15 card. So that is a unbelievable reprint. Thank you, WotC. Huge fan of that. As somebody who's been needing a Tendershoot Dryad for Slimefoot and Squee, I'm very grateful to see a reprint of it finally. Greater Good is also in the deck. Weird include, but it's there. Greater Good should be in the Squirrel deck. What are they doing? Anyway, Greater Good, a $13 card. It is a great one. It's a really good way to draw cards in non-card draw colors like green and red. But it's there. Okay, and I need you to talk me through something. Grothma All-Devour?
Sure. What about it?
What do you do with it? Can you explain to me how this card works?
Oh, you fight things with him. That's how it works.
No. Other things fight it.
Yeah.
And then your opponents draw a bunch of cards.
He's a board wipe on a worm.
An optional, like, your opponent can board wipe themselves at any time and just draw like 10 cards. So, okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull the table. So Grothma All-Devouring is a 5-mana 10/8. I've never seen this card before because it came from Battle Bond, and this is the first time it's been reprinted. So Grothma All-Devouring, 5-mana 10/8 legendary worm. Other creatures, all of them, have whenever this creature attacks, you may have it fight Grothma All-Devouring. And then when Grothma leaves the battlefield, each player draws cards equal to the amount of damage dealt to Grothma this turn by sources they controlled. So, like, it just feels weird, dude. Like, it's too thinky for me.
I suppose what this deck is maybe trying to want you to do with this is you get Bello. Then your
stuff has indestructible, so you can have all of your stuff fight there. But you're drawing cards already. Like, Bello just gives your indestructible creatures the ability to draw cards when they hit. Like, you don't need to draw more cards. I think that you're gonna there's a lot of card draw in this deck.
This is just a really slow way to do Harmonize.
100%, which Harmonize is also in the deck, and I would be putting that in there if it wasn't in here already. So, like, there's enough card draw that I don't think you need weird Grothma in the deck. But it is an $11 card.
Grothma's cool with Greater Good.
Yeah, kind of. It's just there's so many weird workarounds of, like,
5 mana, draw 10, discard 3.
You could just play Wheel of Misfortune instead and have 3 mana. I'm going to draw 7 cards. You don't have to do the weird things.
Grothama's always been a very weird one.
Yeah, so strange. Anyway, so that's like the 3 over $10 reprints. And then there's a bunch in this, like, what I consider the, like, I don't know if I really want to buy this card kind of range, which is like $5-ish. There's a Lotus Cobra, there's a Kodama of the East Tree, a Blasphemous Act, there's an Unnatural Growth in the deck, I already mentioned Gratuitous Violence, and there's a Bootlegger Stash. And all of those are kind of in that $5-ish range, which when I'm building a deck, I go like, I probably don't need that. Like, I could put that $5 towards something else. So really happy to see all of these reprints in here. Let's talk about upgrading the deck, because we got a lot of ground to cover here. So is 19 cards in the deck that benefit from Bellows ability. And I don't think that's enough. I think if you're playing a Bellow in the command zone, which I definitely want to do, because he's a silly little raccoon that makes my silly little enchantments scary, I really want to do that. I think we just need to shave down some of these ancillary things, like landfall. There's some weird expend in here. There's just a lot of things going on. Let's hone in the strategy, we trim up the fat, and we're gonna make this a little better. So, John, if I were to ask you how to put more 4 mana enchantments in the deck, is there anything that you could think of off the dome of what you'd want to be putting in here?
A 4 mana enchantment.
Potentially 4 mana enchantments that you don't have to pay mana for most of the time.
Oh, the ley lines, right?
We're putting ley lines in here, baby. My entire upgrade guide is put 5 ley lines in the deck. We're talking Leyline of Combustion. We're talking Leyline of Abundance. We're talking Leyline of Life Force, Leyline of Punishment, and Leyline of Vitality. And some of those do things for you, but more importantly, they're 4 mana enchantments that come in for free on turn 0. So, like, the cool one is Leyline of Abundance. Like, that one is, it makes your non-lands tap for more mana. Leyline of Combustion does something with damage. Leyline of Punishment says that players can't gain life. Damage can't be prevented, so you're just incidentally going to get some stuff from this. This is like dream scenario of stupid 4 mana enchantments that don't do anything, that is all Bellow wants. It's literal trash. Like, he just wants trash to throw at people. So what you can do now in this deck is, like, have a ley line come in, or 2 ley lines come in on turn 0. And then turn 1, you play Elvish Mystic or a Soul Ring or something. And turn 2, play Bellow. And then all of a sudden your ley lines can swing for 4 on turn 2 and draw you cards. Are you kidding me? This is the dream scenario. And I have a tinfoil hat conspiracy that Wizards wants us to do this, because he's got a Hedron in his staff. They're telling me what they want me to do. They said, look at Zendikar, look at the ley line. So
that's so funny you think that, because the ley lines are Ravnica.
There was ones on Zendikar. Damn it. All right. I had this whole thing. I was like, I'm the meme of the guy from It's Sunny at the board, and I'm like, no, it's from Zendikar. Anyway, put ley lines in the deck. Here's what I would say to take out. Definitely remove Burnished Heart. What are we doing? Putting Burnished Heart in decks. 6 mana to go get 2 lands. We're in green. Get out of here. Take out Decimate too. Can we stop with Decimate? I'm so over. There's going to be so many times where you just have to target one of your own enchantments for Decimate just to, like, make something happen. And that feels so bad. Decimate, for those who don't.
Now, granted, your animated stuff would be indestructible.
I get it. You could just play better removal. Get Decimate out of here. You know what Decimate is not? Is a 4 mana enchantment. So get out of here. Decimate's gone. For those who don't know, Decimate, you have to do all 4 of the targets. You have to have a target for all 4. Otherwise, you are not legally allowed to cast it. So there's going to be a non-zero amount of times where it just rots in your hand. And yes, some of that is mitigated. It's mostly the enchantment that makes you not be able to cast Decimate, and you are playing those, and they will be indestructible. So maybe there's some play to Decimate. I still don't love it. I also don't like Starstorm in this deck. Yeah, we're not like a ramp deck or an X spells deck. It's fine. It's whatever. There's already a Blasphemous Act in here, and that's all I really care about doing to creatures. So get Starstorm out of here. We already talked about it earlier as well, but Rampaging Baloths is in this deck for some reason, and I don't want it. So goodbye. You can put that in a landfall deck. You don't even play this card in landfall decks. Famously, this is like a hot take of yours, is that you don't play Rampaging Baloths in landfall decks, right?
What, me? I mean,
Yeah.
I do have one in. Actually, yeah, I've got Baloth in 2 of my landfall decks. Yes.
What am I thinking of that doesn't? Oh, there was an EDH Retcast that was about shout out EDH Retcast. That Rampaging Baloths just feels like 6 mana. Is that really what you want to be doing for 6 mana? Is like play it and then pass for a whole turn, and then it comes back around, and now you've made a 4/4. Like, whatever, get out of here. And I was gonna cut Grothma. I have it on my notes of Grothma unless otherwise convinced.
And have you otherwise been convinced?
Maybe you've otherwise been convinced about it. I think Grothma at least makes the table go like, huh? Which is some neat play. So I think in its place, cut Spine of Ishsaw. I understand why it's in the deck. It is a 7 mana artifact that just nukes something and then comes back to your hand if it dies. 7 mana is just so much. Even with Bellow down, for it to become a 4/4 that can attack with something, I'm
right.
not.
That's anti synergy with Bellow, right? Because the best thing
you don't
that
want
makes
it to be indestructible.
Yeah,
you
the
want
best
it to die.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the best part about Spine.
Yes. So okay, leave Grothma in and take out Spine of Ishsaw. Last card we're taking out is Teapot Slinger. It's a 4 mana 3/4 with Menace. It is obviously a raccoon. And then it says whenever you expend 4. Teapot Slinger deals 2 damage to each opponent. That's all it says. And expend 4 is as you've spent your 4th total mana casting spells during a turn.
Yeah. Which, like, not a knock at expend, because like it's a really cool mechanic. I think it's really neat.
Is totally cool because it just benefits. It's sort of like landfall in a weird way, where it just kind of benefits you for playing the game. However, I don't want that on a 4 mana 3/4 to just like, okay, I'm dealing 2 damage to everybody a turn. On my turn only, not a fan of Teapot Slinger. It's also an uncommon. So I'm just taking the boot. And all 5 of those things we're exclusively replacing with ley lines. And that is my upgrade guide for the Raccoons. I think this is a really neat deck. I think that what they are handing you in the box is not a neat deck. But I think with a little bit of tweaking, you are totally able to make something cool. There's some really cool includes in the deck too. Like there's some neat play with Kodama of the East Tree, where you make permanents and then you go find like another one. I really enjoy that. There's a handful of other, like some of your enchantments are just good ones that you'd want to be playing anyway, like Path of Discovery. So when it enters, it'll actually see itself entering as a creature for whenever a creature enters the battlefield. So there's like some very strange play, and like you need to do like a brief summary on how layers work to understand the deck, because there's going to be a lot of weird stuff with, well, this kind of enters as a creature. Like, take your time, learn the rules on how layers work. You can just look up MTG layers, and there should be some pretty good summaries out there for you to understand how the deck works. But I
would add my 2 notes in here that if you're looking to do upgrade of things outside of janky ley lines, is perhaps some additives into the deck that keep Bellow alive, because as this strategy revolves around him being there, you'll get stuck with all of these high cost enchantments and artifacts that can no longer swing if Bellow becomes unable to be cast or is just constantly getting removed.
Yes.
So a little focus and protection. And that's actually probably why a lot of these other bigger creatures are in here, so that your strategy just does not fall apart when Bellow leaves the table.
It's true. All they have to do, like, to shut down the leyline plan is kill Bellow. And then, but even then, you just wait until turn 5, and then you get to do it again. Like,
yeah. So a real answer would be throw protection and.
Whoa. My answer was real. I am being dead serious about the ley lines. Otherwise it plays out as kind of like your standard like Gruul ramp. There's a Thran Dynamo in here that's like, that's cool that it's a creature and then can immediately, well, I guess it can immediately tap for 3 anyway. But like, yeah, there's some neat ramp play in here. Goreclaw is really fun because it gives your 4/4 enchantments +1/+1 and trample, which helps with getting them in and drawing cards. So
there's just something so fun with connecting with a gratuitous violence. You know what I mean?
God.
Like gratuitous violence doing it to itself. That's so much fun. Are you kidding me?
And that's why, like, I think this deck is sweet because it's otherwise, I'm going to say it, otherwise relatively unplayable, do nothing enchantments that all of a sudden do something because they make themselves creatures with Bellow.
Would you even say it's kind of trash?
Yes, this is a dumpster trash deck, and it is very fitting that they put a raccoon on it. I dig it. I don't know if I'll be buying this deck, but it's definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on and see. Like, I would like to see somebody make the Bellow Leylines deck.